Hi everybody, thank you for taking the time to come over here. I'll get straight to the point. My name's Stephen Bates. Certain Change is my company. We've been around since 2002. We do know what we're doing. Sometimes people don't like to hear what we have to say because it does ruffle a few feathers sometimes. And this is one of the subjects that a lot of people go, ooh, and keep away from. Developing your leaders and managers. It's one of the least favorite topics when I'm speaking to business leaders, when I'm working with my clients and I start talking about the skills of their leaders and managers. Ooh, it gets really, really uncomfortable for many, many people. I'm going to talk about why that is. I'm going to talk about the obvious damage it creates because we don't have highly skilled leaders and managers. And you know what? It's a really uncomfortable thing to say to some people because sometimes we have to look at ourselves and say, well, that's me. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute and how easy it is to overcome and amazingly cost effective it is, but people think it isn't. And I'm going to show you why and talk about why people are so scared of actually developing their leaders and managers, but it's one of the most powerfully effective ways of improving your business and, to be honest, your life. So let's get cracking into this. So do you have amazing people? Have you hired some really amazing people in your company, but they're being led by underskilled managers? It's really common. It's incredibly common. In fact, I would say pretty much every business, this is happening. And the consequences are huge. So you spend a lot of money. Your aim is to spend a lot of money on the best people you can find to do the jobs that you need them to do. You hire in people with amazing skills because you want really good results. That is absolute logic. But it breaks down when we start talking about our managers. Now, what we do, we hire in managers often, or we promote from within because of their technical knowledge and experience. But we miss out the bit that glues it all together. And that's what I want to be talking about. It's this really, when you dive into it, obviously crazy situation we have when we've got amazing people on amazing projects, trying to change the world, trying to make an impact, make seriously good profits for the company, making the company work. People want to come to work and it's being let down because the managers that are running, or leaders or managers that are running the company at whatever level, haven't got the skills they need. And this is not an accusationary thing. It's a simple, yeah, that's just what happens. That's what's happened, especially over the last 20 years. It's really, really changed massively. So if you think I'm having a go at you, then I just pause a little bit. I'm not having a go. I'm trying to help. But people often feel attacked. And when I explain to them, well, when were you ever taught to be a really good people manager? Or when were you taught to be a good systems manager? A lot of them, most of them say, well, I picked it up on the job, or I did a couple of days and on a training course many years ago. And you think, hang on a second, you're saying really you haven't, but sometimes it's really hard, especially senior management with possibly years in business, to actually say, do you know what? You're right, Stephen. I haven't actually had anybody teach me how to be better at it. And if you think about all the things that we do in life, how many times do we say, do you know what, if I want to learn something, I'm going to go get someone who's going to teach me how to be better at it? Think of your hobbies, think of the courses or the training that you put your technical specialists on, or that you expect them to have trained in it to hire them in. But there's this thing in the middle where we just don't do the same anymore with the leaders and managers. And it's such an expensively dangerous thing to do, but it's become so normal, and it's very hard for people to say, yeah, that's me. And I'm at this level now. I can't turn around to anybody and say, I haven't had any training, or I'm not as good as I could be. It takes quite a strong person to say that. But the interesting thing is when I'm actually training people within a company on a particular topic, leadership and management especially, what often happens is it's the people below that get put on the training. And the people on the training say, when's my manager going to do this? They need it too. So this is one of these taboo subjects. Everyone talks about it, but nobody wants to admit it. And if you're here, you're obviously thinking about it. And if you're still sticking with me on this and you haven't clicked off and you've got fed up with me for saying it, well done, because you've just passed the first test of what you want is more important than actually going, oh yeah, I've got some great people, but they don't know really how to lead and manage. And I've hired them and perhaps they've been in there for years and perhaps that's me too. And the moment we say that, we make life so much easier ourselves. So that's one of the biggest problems. Just realizing there's a problem, be willing to actually just look at the problem. So that's what we're going to do now. So do you feel frustrated that your leaders and managers with your leaders and managers because you're not seeing the revenue results that you should be seeing? Your projects aren't being completed on time. They're going haywire. Things that are happening that shouldn't happen. Very simply, mistakes. Things are not laid out in the way they should be. The process is not being adhered to, and there's problems. So most of the things in business, when businesses are having a hard time, is when things that should be being done well are not done well consistently, or when there is a chance to develop the business is not ready to be able to scale and grow and get bigger because the systems and the people are not ready for that growth, which is really frustrating for leaders. And then when you've got those sorts of things going on, and then we've got normal everyday problems going on, it's very hard to create a project which works when you're trying to deal with things that are going wrong in everyday life. Or if staff are underperforming, they know they are, they're frustrated, they can't work at the level they want to work at, they're not enjoying themselves, morale goes down, productivity goes down, you get into this spiral. So this short video is not all about that, obviously, but you've been in a place where you know when a team is working well and the team is not, when a business is working well and a business is not. And it is the managers that make the big difference, the leaders and the managers. And I say leaders and managers because they're different but the same, but most people don't know the difference. It's one of the things we first do when we're working with somebody. Do they know the difference? So leaders and managers make these things either improve or get worse. And for the leaders, for the owners, for the people high up, you think, no matter how much I'm working, the hard work, the long hours you're putting in, you're not getting the results you want because there's something going wrong somewhere. It's no continuity. There's no communication. There's mistakes that shouldn't be happening, keep happening. If you're frustrated, hey, you're in the right place. Do you have high expenditure, but not the results to match? Because at the end of the day, we know if we spend this much, but we're going to get this much back, we don't mind spending this amount of money. But it's very common when we go in and help a leader look at their teams, we ask them a very simple question. Are the people in the team making money for the business? And I'm not just talking about salespeople or people generating income. Are they being used so they make more money? And now in this example, everything's red. It really shouldn't all be red because some of those people will be carrying other people. This is what when we talk about Price's Law, and there's another video on this. But Price's Law is when the square root of the amount of people in the company are doing 50% of the work. So what we look at is, well, who in this team are producing revenue, are being contributors, who are amber, that's the green people, who are amber people, and who are red, who is being paid for, but that they're not creating the results. Now, it could be them and their skills, but the first place to look is, are the managers getting the best out of them? So when we appraise this, it can be really simple. We think, you know what, they're not really producing for us. And the amount of people I've spoken to, and they said, you know what, I'm not sure what they do most of the time, or yeah, we always seem to spend time with, managing them, having problems with them, but I'm not sure how productive they actually are. So if you've got conversations even a little bit going on, what's happening is you're carrying a lot of people, you're paying a lot of people, and they're not doing what you want them to do, which actually make your company profitable. So if you're going, oh yeah, how many of my people are we're getting the best out of them, then give us a call, because that's what we love to do. That's the first part of the assessment. And the reason for this, where it all goes wrong, and I could talk for hours, but this is going to be nice, short and sharp for you, is that most managers have never been shown how to lead and manage a high-performing team. It is one of the most complex roles in business. It's probably the most complex. And most people think about somebody who's got 20 years of experience, they've got deep technical or product knowledge, they've got experience absolutely about their core subject, whatever that happens to be. But the glue is people. And then you've got systems being run by people. So that's what makes leading and managing one of the most complex roles in business. And if you don't understand the formula, the framework of how people think, so you can get the best out of them, leading and managing is a nightmare. It's a really hard thing to do. So most people do not actually get shown how to do the most complex thing in business, which is leading and managing people who are different. Because in a team, you need people who are different to make the team work. You know, if you go in a sporting analogy, say football, imagine you've got a team of strikers or a team of goalkeepers. What makes a team work is everyone does a different job. Everyone thinks differently, has different skills, different approaches. And the reason it works is because someone glues them together. It's like the conductor with all these people in the orchestra playing all these different instruments. But the conductor, the leader and the manager makes them sound good. That's where the productivity comes in. And it's an immensely complex job. So imagine putting a professional footballer or any competitive sports person or the world's best musician into an arena, competitive situation, or into a production, and never give them guidance on how to work within that team because they don't know how to. You're going to get the best out of this amazing person. So this is why teams often do really, really badly. And then all of a sudden, bang, they're brilliant because they bring in a different manager and the different manager says, hey, let's look at how we glue this together to make these people work, know how to motivate them, what demotivates them, and how to make them glue together as a system, as a team. It's incredibly complex. And this is a scary statistic. 75% of people who voluntarily leave their job leave because of bad management, not because it was a bad job. We don't want to work with somebody who we don't feel valued by, we're not supported by, we're not guided by. So therefore, guess what? They want to find something else which is nicer and more enjoyable, and they feel their career is going somewhere and they're doing something good with their life. 75% of people, how expensive is it to find one person to, after you've lost a really good member of staff? What's the problem to your team when you lose that member of staff? The gap when you haven't got them, and then having to find someone and bring them into the team, that can take months, all because some people didn't know how to be a good manager. And it's very likely that many of your managers are technical experts. They are managing the team because they're the best and they have the best knowledge of what they do. But this is the classic best salesperson becoming the sales manager, and they're totally different jobs. And often this is when they fail, and then they don't get the best out of the rest of the salespeople because they don't know how to lead people. They're brilliant at what they're technically good at, but they lack the knowledge, skills, and practices to run a highly effective team. So we often promote people who are really knowledgeable, technical people, and whatever that happens to be, but it's a completely different job. And here's the kicker. Your managers will not want to admit they don't know what they're doing because they fear judgment from other people. It's one of the biggest problems in the world, people being judging them, losing their job, obviously, because I'm the world's best salesperson, but I'm a terrible manager. So they don't want to lose their job, and they don't want to lose status in the company. They don't want to feel like they're failing. So often they'll keep their mouth shut. And this happens at all levels. And I work with C-suite and senior people who go into a new role for the first time and they've never done it before. And they don't know how to do it because they've never done it before, but they keep their mouth shut until it goes wrong. And then there's stress and there's problems. And it's usually because they didn't know how to behave at that level. So whether this is first-time managers or, people going to be a CEO for the first time, the same problem goes all the way through, but no one wants to admit it. This is why this problem is kept so quiet, because we have to go, do you know what? I'm failing. But imagine if you had a brilliant sports person going into a team, they cost a lot of money and they weren't guided in any way. They weren't coached in any way. It wouldn't happen. In other areas, in high performance situations, outside of business, this just does not happen. Every high performing elite athlete has managers, coaches, trainers, all sorts of different people to get the best out of them, advisors. Happens in music, it happens in all areas where performance is key, except business. That's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy, crazy, crazy. So this is the other thing. I'm just taking a snapshot for you. And many of your managers don't like being managers. And when I take them through this process I call the Genius Zone, where we just find out whether they're innovators, workers, or managers at heart, there's a hell of a lot of really great people. Experts, technical experts are often high-level workers, innovators, and the worst thing for them is to be a manager, but they have to go that way because that is where their career pathway goes, or they've been asked to do it. So there's a lot of people who, when I explain this to them, we find out where they are on this, that's when they suddenly realise, no wonder I hate managing. I don't even like it. And it's a relief to them to know, because then we know what we need to do with them and how to help them overcome that problem while they are a manager. Sometimes it's almost important for some managers never to be managers, and actually to be better to be directors with a really good manager supporting them. But we can talk about that. And that happens a lot. And there's a lot of very senior people who struggle as managers, but actually they're more natural leaders or directors. So if you think, hang on a second, is that me? Give us a call. Let's have a chat. So we first thing we do when we're working onto the Certain Change program is, who are your natural managers? Because they are brilliant. They naturally think like managers. So then they can be developed to be even better managers. Who are not, but need to be good at managing? So they're not natural managers, but perhaps they're technical experts, so they need to run your team. But actually managing is the furthest away in their mind of how they actually think. They just don't think like managers. And who are the people who should never manage? They should never go in this direction in the career pathway. They should be found a different one, because they will wreck your team by accident. They're not bad people. It's just these people should never be like this. They should never be managers. So they should find a different route where they'll be incredibly valuable and highly effective by not being a manager. And guarantee most companies have got people managing and leading teams who should never be managers. Never, never, never. Just an extra topic. Who are better as people managers? Or perhaps they're better systems managers. So often people are good systems managers, but not necessarily good people managers, or vice versa. Who are great at both? If you know who these people are, put them in the right place, give them the right responsibilities, and your teams will go flying. They'll absolutely do amazing things. But it's finding out who are the right people for the right jobs. So this is all a part of the Certain Change program. This is what we do with companies. This is just a tiny, tiny snapshot, and you'll see there's lots of other videos I do. Try and keep them under 20 minutes as we're doing now. But there are so many things about creating effective leaders and managers that literally there's a whole program. It's called the Certain Change program rather than these short videos. But I hope you've got a little insight into. There are things that if you know, make all the difference. Very simple things about understanding people, the formula and framework for understanding people. So you can adapt your management leadership style to that situation, that person. There is so many things that are, when you understand them, are so simple and so easy to implement. It solves a huge amount of problems. It will take retention through the floor in terms of you'll keep so many people rather than lose them. So, and your performance of your teams and the morale goes through the roof very easily, simply because they know the right stuff. So if you don't want your staff to continue to underperform, because you know you've hired some brilliant people and you want your results to go up, simply drop me a message or book me a call, depending whether you've seen this from on YouTube or wherever it's been connected from. You can email in inquiries at Certain Change, or we book a call directly into my diary using the middle link, or pop over to the website and there's a contact form there. Easy to get hold of us. But your managers can make or break a team. Just think how valuable and expensive your team are. I know your manager's getting the best out of them. And I'll look forward to speaking to you soon, I hope. And I hope this is useful to you.